You think intimacy ends the moment it's over. But what happens next is where the real story begins. And most men never even see it coming. Welcome to Talia Talks Love, where we uncover the hidden truths of attraction and intimacy. Today, we're diving into what really happens, emotionally and psychologically, after that final moment, and why it leaves a deeper impact than most people ever realize. Because the truth is, the emotional aftermath of intimacy goes far beyond the physical. The act itself may end, but what follows is a quiet cascade of subtle, powerful feelings that linger in both the mind and the body. At the exact moment everything peaks and releases, something shifts. The body experiences a mix of relief and vulnerability. And that combination is powerful. It opens a door to trust, to emotional connection, and to something much deeper than physical pleasure. Because in that moment, it's not just about what happened physically, it's about the feeling of being fully seen, fully accepted, in a state of complete openness. And the mind registers that. It interprets it as safety. And that sense of safety creates a lasting impression that goes far beyond the act itself. This is why the smallest things afterward matter more than most people think. A calm presence, a gentle touch, soft words, or even silence filled with warmth. All of it amplifies the experience. All of it deepens the connection. Because the subconscious mind begins linking that moment, not just to pleasure, but to emotional security. And that's why these moments often feel heavy, reflective, almost unforgettable. Even without words, energy speaks, attention speaks, presence speaks. They communicate care, acknowledgement, and respect. And those signals leave an imprint that lingers long after the physical interaction ends. Understanding this emotional layer changes everything, because it reveals that intimacy is never just physical. It's a psychological experience, one that can strengthen trust, deepen closeness, and build real connection. When the moment reaches its peak, the mind is doing more than processing sensation. It's processing meaning. It's reading trust, vulnerability, connection. Even if those emotions aren't fully conscious, even if they can't be explained in words, there's a quiet flood of feeling, a sense of closeness that's hard to describe but impossible to ignore. And during that time, subtle cues become incredibly powerful. Your attention, your presence, your responsiveness, they send messages directly to the subconscious, messages that say, you're safe, you're valued, you're accepted. And this is exactly why the same physical experience can feel completely different, depending on the emotional energy around it. Because the brain doesn't just remember what happened, it remembers how it felt. If there's care, attentiveness, emotional awareness, the experience becomes deeper, more meaningful, more memorable. But if there's distraction or emotional distance, the impact fades, because connection was never fully created. Hormones like oxytocin play a role here too. They reinforce bonding. They create neurological pathways that link the experience with trust, closeness, and emotional attachment. But even beyond chemistry, it's the human details that matter most. A moment of eye contact, a gentle touch, a soft tone. These small things can shape how the entire experience is remembered, because they add meaning, they add emotion, they turn something physical into something lasting. At the center of all of this is trust, and trust is built through vulnerability. Letting someone that close is not a small thing. It's a silent act of faith, a quiet decision to be seen, without defenses, without judgment. And that level of openness creates a deep emotional response. It creates a sense of security, a sense of connection that stays long after everything is over. And vulnerability isn't weakness, it's a signal a signal that the emotional bond is strong enough to hold honesty and exposure. But here's where it becomes even more important. How you show up in that moment determines everything. The way you give attention, the way you stay present, the way you handle the silence after, all of it reinforces or weakens that trust. Every small action sends a message that the connection is safe, that it's respected, that it matters. When that trust is honored, the emotional impact becomes profound. It leaves a lasting impression, one that feels both comforting and deeply bonding. But when there's neglect, distraction, or emotional absence, that same trust begins to weaken, and the experience loses its depth. Because emotional connection requires balance, giving and receiving attention, being present together in that moment. And when that balance exists, something powerful happens. Closeness deepens, and the mind remembers more than just the act. It remembers the feeling of being valued, being accepted, being understood on a deeply personal level. After intimacy, there's also a shift in energy, a subtle but powerful transition. The body relaxes, breathing slows, tension fades away, and a natural calm takes over. But this calm isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's a shift from intensity to reflection, a moment where feelings rise more clearly. Sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's closeness, sometimes it's something deeper, harder to define. But whatever it is, it matters, because that emotional state becomes connected to the experience and connected to you. This is how attachment forms, quietly, subtly, without words. Small actions during this time can strengthen that bond even more. A lingering touch, gentle eye contact, a calm, reassuring presence. These things turn a fleeting moment into something meaningful, something that stays. But when attention disappears too quickly, when the moment is rushed or cut short, that connection weakens because the emotional rhythm is broken and the experience feels incomplete. This is why understanding this energy shift is so important, because it's the bridge between physical intimacy and emotional connection. It shapes how the moment is remembered and how the relationship evolves afterward. There's also a deeper layer happening beneath the surface: subconscious bonding. At the moment everything peaks, the body releases hormones like oxytocin, and this creates a natural sense of closeness. But more importantly, it creates emotional imprinting. The mind begins linking that experience with feelings of trust, comfort, and safety. And these links don't just disappear, they stay. They influence future emotions, future reactions, future connections. Even the smallest gestures, a soft word, a gentle presence, a quiet moment together, they reinforce that bond. Because the mind doesn't just store the physical memory, it stores the emotional context, the energy, the attention, the way the moment felt. And over time, these small imprints build something bigger. They shape how closeness is experienced, how connection is understood, and how future interactions are interpreted. This is why intimacy can feel so powerful, even life-changing, because it creates associations. Associations between a person and a feeling, between presence and safety, between connection and trust. And finally, there's the silent language of it all: nonverbal communication. Because during these moments, words are often unnecessary. The body speaks, through touch, through movement, through energy. A gentle embrace can say everything. A lingering hand can communicate more than words ever could. Even eye contact, or the way breathing slows together, it all carries meaning. It all sends signals, and those signals are deeply registered by the subconscious. They reinforce connection, they build trust, they create attachment. But the opposite is also true. disengagement, distraction, emotional absence, they send their own message. And that message can weaken everything that was just built. That's why awareness matters. Because in these moments, you're not just sharing time, you're shaping memory, you're shaping meaning, you're shaping how someone feels about you, on a level they may never fully explain. At the end of the day, intimacy is never just about the physical act. It's a gateway into emotion, into trust, into connection that runs far deeper than most people realize. Every action, before, during, and after, leaves an imprint, and those imprints stay. They build something lasting, because the release itself is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of the emotional aftermath, the subtle shifts, the quiet moments, the unspoken communication that defines everything. And when there is awareness, presence, and care, a simple moment can become something profound, something that builds trust, closeness, even subconscious attachment. Because real intimacy isn't one moment, it's a series of signals, small, quiet, powerful signals that communicate safety, respect, and emotional alignment. And the people who understand this, the ones who stay present, who don't rush away from the moment, they leave something behind, something that's remembered, felt, and valued long after everything ends. Because in the end, it's not just about what happened, it's about how it felt and how that feeling stayed. So if this made you see intimacy differently, if you felt the depth behind what most people overlook, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more insights, and comment connection below. So I know you truly understood the depth of this.